Hi again. Right now we're gonna have a look at the Input EQ and Output EQ tabs. EQ stands for equalization, and this simple audio process allows us to either accentuate a certain frequency range or attenuate it. In the Liviau S, there is an equalizer available on each input and each output. Each equalizer has 4 bands, named PEQ1 to PEQ4. PEQ stands for parametric equalizer. This type of equalizer allows us to manipulate 3 parameters of the frequency range we want to affect. Using the vertical slider, we can set the amount of action to be taken and the direction of the action. If the slider is set to a value above 0, our PEQ band will accentuate or boost a certain frequency range. If the slider is set to a negative value, the PEQ band will attenuate or cut a certain frequency range. If the slider remains at 0, the PEQ band is disabled and it leaves the audio unaffected. Using the top vertical scroll wheel, we can choose the center frequency of the PEQ band. This is the frequency around which the action will take place. Using the bottom vertical scroll wheel, we can choose how wide an area around the center frequency will be affected by the PEQ band. This last parameter is called the Q factor or the quality factor. It is the opposite of the bandwidth of the filter, meaning that for a higher Q factor, a smaller frequency range will be boosted or cut. As elsewhere, the input or output we are working on is indicated at the top of our screen. To choose another input or output, simply swipe horizontally over the screen or touch the left or right top corners to select the next or previous input or output. When we looked at the input and output level steps, we have seen that inputs and outputs belonging to a stereo pair can have their controls linked by clicking on the stereo tick box. For any given pair of inputs or outputs with the stereo tick box checked, any EQ setting made to one of the inputs or outputs belonging to the stereo pair will also be applied to the other input or output belonging to the same pair. At the bottom left of the input and output EQ screens, a tick box called Hide EQ from Audio Options can be found. If desired, checking this tick box will simply hide the input and/or output EQ for the end user once the Liviau S is used in live mode.